Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to The Hanged Man in the Moon. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, you probably know that I have changed the way I am organizing the videos on this channel. So what I'm doing now is I'm doing a short series of spreads with a particular deck, and then I will do a deep dive into the deck, and then I will start again with a new deck and we'll work through that. So we're doing practice readings with a deck and then doing a review, and we're on the third video for this particular deck. So if you've seen the last two, you know which deck it is. It is the Baddeley Tarot, and it's a gorgeous deck. Its artwork is phenomenal, it's refined, it's sensitive even. And the first two videos you saw me use from this deck, they were pretty intense. And I mean intense in a couple of ways. I mean intense in message, but also intense in structure. I did two, if you know me, you know I like big spreads, right? You know that. This week's spread is a little bit more pared down, particularly for me. And as I promised, I am also including an oracle deck that was drawn by the same creator. Yeah? So, before we get into that, I just want to remind you that last week's video, last week's spread, actually, was, again, I have to say, intense. It was calling for us to do some very deep shadow work. Do you remember? We were asked to bring the stuff from the inside into the light so that we can find and reach for the counterbalancing virtue, light, because every dark has a light to it, and we have all of that. So we reach for the virtue, we reach for the light, and we try to expand that. We give it energy, we allow it to grow and flourish. This week's spread, I think, is expecting us to have done at least some of that work, because we're moving in a slightly different slightly direction. That's the word, direction. We're moving in a slightly different direction, but still connected to the previous two spreads that we saw with this deck. That makes sense, I hope. So this is going to be very interesting, I think. I have not completely read the spread. I've laid it out. I've got some notes, but I haven't read the spread, and I'm going to read the spread with you. And before I read the spread with you, I'd like to say thank you. I'd like to say thank you for doing all of those things that you do, for hitting the thumbs up button, for subscribing to the channel. You are a blessing to me, to us, and to the new people who are able to find us because you do those things. Thank you to those of you who comment in the comment section, whether it's below or beside. Thank you for that. You are a true blessing. Yes, and so friends, I've got the spread. I've got photos of the spread. Let me show you the photo of the spread right now. That was the spread. What do you think? You saw it's only got 6 tarot cards and 1 oracle, right? And when I laid this spread, of course I have the same question every week. How can we live our lives more intentionally in the coming week? But because I decided to incorporate this oracle card, I did what I sometimes, but not always, do. I decided to start with the oracle card to get the first message, the first direction to answering that question from the oracle deck. And then, after looking at that, then I laid this spread of 6 cards, 3 on top, 3 below. Yes, and the 3 on top points to what is happening in our mental sphere, in our conscious awareness. The 3 cards below point to what is happening below the surface, or maybe in our unconscious psyche. Yeah? And yes, I get this spread somewhat from my work with Lenormand. Yeah? So, just saying. And this is a semi-positional spread because we have those 2 rows. But each one of those rows is a series of 1 position. What's above, so as is below. Yeah, what's in the conscious is in the, and what is in the unconscious. They're pairs. But I think they are laid to tell a story. Rather than, this card is for the challenge. This card is for the advice. You get it? Okay, so we're going to read this spread maybe in a few ways. It depends on how this reading flows. I might decide to read vectors. And if you've seen my 6-card spread for Lenormand, you'd know what I mean by vectors. The angles, the points. Well, I'll get to it when I get to it, if I get to it. So, friends, let's start off with the Oracle card. And I'll put the Oracle card right up here. It's a beautiful card. It's a little challenging to photograph because it is super glossy. I'm just saying. So I hope it comes out well enough for you. The card is from a deck called the Mystical Healing Oracle, which I love. I wish there were more cards in the deck, but still, I love the Oracle. And it was drawn by, the art is by Jake Baddeley, who created the Tarot all by himself. But he worked with Ina Segal to create this Oracle deck. Beautiful deck. And I think a powerful one, too. And so, the first answer to our question, how can we live our lives more intentionally in the coming week, is this card, which is Enable Your Soul. Can you see that? Let me lift it up for myself so I can see it. You see these 2 figures, the light and perhaps the dark. If you can see the banner that separates them, it's very much like a playing card, right? You can see in the upper right-hand corner, there's that Ace of Hearts, right? And below there are 2 diamonds in the lower left-hand corner. Do you see that? So I really worked to see if I could get a playing card association because they're 2 different suits on one card. I tried to wrap my mind around those 2, and I'm not reading this deck with reversals, even though this card does seem to slightly point towards reversals, because in the banner separating the top and the bottom, you see upright angels, and if you were to flip the card around, you would see that when angels goes upside down, the word devils becomes upright. And the being that is in the side where devils is upright has a mask in front of her face. The being that is upright now for you has a candle in front of her face. So she follows the light, and the devil masks herself. Yes? But those playing cards, I really did try to wrap my head around what to do with those playing card, not really inserts, but additions, and I really couldn't figure anything out. If it says something to you, let us know in the comments below. I'd love your help with that. But what is this ennoble your soul supposed to mean? It's a I want to say highfalutin. It's expecting a lot of us. Yeah, to ennoble our souls, to live the next week intentionally. So what's it telling us? It's telling us that we tell ourselves that we want to be in contact with the divine. We want to be in contact with the non-physical realm, with our eternal natures, or with our guardian angels, if that angel, yeah, our guardian angels, if that is meaningful for you. We tell us we want to do that, But they have to, they don't have to, but they do, they are living our life, living with us through our lives, is what I'm trying to say. Those angels, or that eternal nature that is us, or the divine or the non-physical, is living with us through our lives. So what does that mean? That means that while we do say we want to be in contact and we want to have clear, open, flowing communication with, we don't always accomplish that. Yes? So we disconnect ourselves from those beings. We toss our negative crap up towards those, well, there's really no up or down in the non-physical realm, right? The upness and downness of things only happens here in this three-dimensional world in relationship to our own perspective. But still, we throw our crap in the direction of that which we say we want to be in contact with. And we have responsibility for that. We have responsibility for our connection to that being, or that entity, or that realm. And we have responsibility for how open we are to receiving from that being or that realm. We have responsibility for how open we are to receiving the help, to receiving the information, to receiving the energy we ask for, the healing, to receiving the love. Yeah? It's always there, it's always available, and it's up to us to be open, to be receptive. And remember, openness was part of the, well, for you, the past is probably that way. Remember that video we did before, being open was a key element of that. And we're still being asked to be open, but in a different way this week. So to do that, we want to have a more loving relationship with the physically incarnated beings around us. Yes? Yeah, of course we want to have a loving relationship with that eternal nature that we are, with the divine, with our angels, whatever names we want to place on those non-physical beings. We want to have a loving relationship with them, of course. But to really have that open, loving relationship, we have to express that in our lives in this three-dimensional realm with the incarnated beings around us, be they human, be they animal, be they plant, be they whatever, with all of that. Now that's a pretty big ask, right? You might be thinking, I can't do that. Do you see what that person over there is doing, or what that person in that capital city is doing? Or do you see what she did to him? Yeah? So if we're thinking about how others affect us, are we becoming more or less selfless? What we want to do here is reach for selflessness, which is not exactly the same as ego death. Yeah, that's enlightenment, ego death, wonderful things, but that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about selflessness, less focus on our own needs and a little more focus on helping others. And being selfless does not mean becoming weak, losing all agency. That's not what we're talking about. Now, it doesn't mean that we want to become subservient. It doesn't mean that we want to be the whipping boy or girl for other people, or whipping non-binary person for other people. But we do want to be more honorable. We want to be wiser. We want to be able to interact with other people in a way that no matter how they are being, we are not directly affected by it. And we can make that choice. Yeah, we don't want to be arrogant. We don't want to be lording it over them either. We don't want to come from above and say, oh, you poor person who is struggling so much, I am better than you, so I will deign to help you. That's not the attitude either. We want to approach with humility, wisdom, again, right? Honor, compassion, and openness. Again, that sounds like a really big ask, I know, but that's the direction we want to be moving in. We want to make incremental movements in that direction. We don't have to expect, and if you can attain it in the matter of moments or a day, you are a magnificent human being. But I don't think we're expected to get it all fixed by tomorrow. Yeah? But we do want to take those steps in that direction, knowing that is the direction of our evolution. That is the direction of opening up to the power of intention flowing through our lives. And I think I just accidentally showed you the back of this oracle deck, but let me show it to you up close and personal just in case you're curious about it. Yeah, it's a beautiful deck, a beautiful card. So in this way that we are opening to honor with humility, in that way we can also be open to receiving more of the divine, the non-physical assistance that we are entitled to, but not entitled in the sense of privilege over other people. We're all entitled to it because it's all there. And if we open to it, we can receive it. It doesn't require doing it perfectly. Really, it doesn't. It doesn't require getting it right at this moment. But it asks us to continually taking one more step in that direction. Does that make sense? So, to receive the love and the information that we want from the divine, from the non-physical, from our guardian angel, to receive the healing, to receive the wisdom, more wisdom, we want to open up to others in humility and in compassion and in selflessness and in honor and in wisdom. Because as we open to the others, we are open to the non-physical. And again, we don't have to get it right by tomorrow. Yeah, we take, again, incremental steps. And that is the primary aim of this week's intention for our intentional life. So we've got 6 tarot cards right beside that oracle card to help us understand a little bit more deeply. And so the 3 cards on top, I don't know if you noticed this, but we had 3 cards we had 3 cards that were upright and 3 cards that were reversed. So this is a fairly balanced spread. Yeah, the 2 of the 3 cards on top were upright, and only 1 of the 3 cards below was upright. Yes, you noticed that? It might have been this art in this tarot deck is a little bit difficult to see quickly. At least for me. I don't know if you experience it differently. If you experience it differently, let us know in the comments below. If you can see what is in the card quickly without much concentration, I'd love to hear your special skill. I think we all would. For me, it really takes a little bit more time to really see what I'm looking at with this deck because of the kind of art that it is and in the kinds of color tones, the color palette that is used for this deck. So we had 2 cards upright on the top, and from left to right, we had the 4 of Cups upright, the Knight of Cups reversed, and then the 7 of Batons. Below, we had, from left to right, the Wheel of Fortune upright, the Queen of Cups reversed, and the Empress upright. So we can see that there is an emphasis on the emotional aspect of our journey this week, right? 3 cups, only 1 baton. And if we're thinking elementally, water for the cups and, no, I'm sorry, just had a little bit of a brain fart, yeah? They're not ill-dignified. They are not ill-dignified. Because in this deck, batons are air. So air and water are not ill-dignified. They don't help each other. They don't detract from each other. They walk comfortably together. So we're good here. But we do have an emphasis on the cups, the emotions. And we've got a couple of major arcana cards down there below. So that's interesting too. And let's begin with the 4 of Cups. Yes, the 4 of Cups. What do we see here? We see Jupiter sitting on his throne. Yeah. I don't know if you can see in his, what would that be for us? His, well, not for us, but for him, that would be his right hand. In his right hand, he has lightning bolts. Do you see that? This is the Jupiter of power. Yeah. And because this is upright, the picture for Sagittarius is upright as well. Whereas the Pisces, it's hard to tell in this picture, is reversed. Yeah? So we've got Jupiter, upright Capricorn, which is interesting in the 4 of Cups. We've got a little angel sitting right below, right between his legs. At least I assume the angel is sitting. We don't see the lower body of the angel, so the angel could be standing for all I know, but it may be sitting between Jupiter's legs. Very interesting image. We've also got a square in a circle. The symbol for Jupiter is 4-like, which reminds us of that 4-ness of a square within the circle, which is in most of the cards. In fact, every one of the cards that we had for this week's spread has that kind of a circle frame within a frame, circular frame within a frame. So what is this card telling us? It's telling us that it's time to focus on physical and emotional well-being. Yeah, good food and good water and kindness to self. And having a safe space, a sanctuary for ourselves, a place for us where we can feel comfortable and secure and grounded, and a place that we can rest and heal. Does that make sense? So this is the beginning of how we are going to accomplish this ennobling of our soul, right? We want to give attention to our own well-being. We want to help ourselves so that we can help other people. So we want to give attention to our health. We want to find ways to recharge ourselves, self-care, tending to our wounds if we have them. Not only actual physical wounds on our bodies, but also emotional wounds, psycho-spiritual wounds. We want to take care of ourselves. We want to heal. And our self-healing and tending to our continued well-being is all important. We don't want to let our pride or independence prevent us from seeking help from others either. Now, yes, we take care of ourselves, but there are times when we are going to want help from other people. Yes, we might want to go in for some counseling. We might want to go into a medical professional to get healing for a physical injury or lack of well-being. And it could be a typical Western allopathic medical practitioner, an Eastern practitioner, an energy healer, someone who works with essential oils. You do you. Whatever seems right for you, to get the help that we want and or need to get. Yes? That's what this card is saying. Really pretty clear. The next card is this one, the Knight of Cups reversed. And you see that this knight is masked, right? And it looks like something is coming out of that cup. Do you see that? It's not exactly it doesn't look like a fish or anything particular, but it does seem like there's, and it could just be flourishes in the background art. In fact, the more I look at it, the more I'm thinking, no, I'm wrong. It's not coming out of the cup. It's a flourish from behind the knight holding the cup. You see, the knight has a lion rampant on a shield in front of him. Who is the Knight of Cups reversed in this deck? He's pointing to the possibility that while selfless dedication is being called from us now, there still might be some injustice present in us. Yes, we might be behaving in unjust ways, or we might be at the receiving end of injustice as well. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, if I'm on the receiving end, there's nothing I can do about that. We want to reframe that perception right now as much as we can. Now, we can always do something. We might not be able to fix the one who is dealing out the injustice. We can fix our reaction to it. We have the choice, yeah? We could recall that wounded people wound, hurt people hurt people. People who are hurt are the ones who hurt other people, right? People who feel that the world is unjust are the ones who deal out injustice. So we might be able to find some compassion, not saying that we excuse their behavior, but still have compassion for the ones who are doing the bad stuff. There might also be the possibility that we have that our commitment to our choices may not be as strong as it could be. Yeah, our commitment might be on the weaker side. And because of that, we might not be completing the tasks we want to complete. Because we are feeling a little bit of that sense of, well, I don't know, is this going to work out? Is this really good for me? Will this be successful? I don't know. Yeah, that wishy-washy, uncommitted, I'm going to get this done no matter what. That power, that energy, it may be lacking for us right now. Yeah, so we might not have this dedication, the selfless dedication, or the commitment that is being called from us right now. And perhaps life feels a little bit meaningless right now. Or maybe it's dull or uninteresting. Maybe we feel like we've been drifting, like we don't have a clear direction for ourselves. Have you felt any of that? If you have, that's what this card is pointing to. And if you haven't, maybe you have been feeling it without really being fully aware of it. So it's something to ask ourselves. Where have I been lacking in commitment? Where have I been a little weak in my dedication? Where have I been lacking in focus or in direction? So it's time to aspire to that brighter, higher ideal that we had before we started veering off course. We want to ennoble our souls, right? So it's a question of finding our passions again and living our lives with vigor, being aligned with our true selves, which is part of that ennobling of soul. Does that make sense? So we want to do the healing of the, where is it for you? For here, the healing of the Four of Cups, so that we can find that energy to accomplish what is being pointed out as a lack of fire, a lack of dedication, a lack of commitment, a lack of direction and passion pointed towards in the Four of Cups reversed. I'm sorry, the Knight of Cups reversed. And so then we move into the Seven of Batons, which was upright, and we see here Venus. Now, I don't know if you remember this, but this card came to us last week. Yeah, last week this card was down there on the bottom row. Remember? She's back. So what is this telling us? If you recall, we may have been in a happy-go-lucky, in love frame of mind or state of heart. Yeah, a little bit of a lack of commitment. Perhaps there is a new relationship that is in your experience, which is kind of cool, and maybe you've got that butterflies in the stomach feeling, do you, about somebody new who is entering your life, and you're feeling a little bit excited. If that is true for you, then this card is a more positive thing for you. Then yes, this is a good thing, maybe. Because those butterflies can help kindle the passion that was called for from the Knight of Cups reversed. However, this card could be pointing towards a relationship with other, like we were just saying, but it could also be a relationship with ourselves or with the non-physical. It could be our relationship with our passions as well. Are we treating our passions, or are we treating the non-physical, our angels or our eternal nature or our connection with the divine, in a light and frivolous way? When it's convenient, when it feels fun, when are we dedicated to being open to a loving relationship with the divine, with our eternal nature, or with our angels? So I think we are asked to be a little bit flirtatious, a little bit loose. We want to have fun with this. When we explore our inner worlds, we want to do so in a playful way, but we also want to have that coming from a foundation of commitment to being open to the divine, to ennobling our souls. And yes, we can also have fun. It doesn't have to be such a serious game, of course, but we do want to be committed to this fun game. And not flirtatious and uncommitted. Playful, fun, and committed. Can that distinction make sense for you? I hope so, because I think that's where our conscious mind will help us to accomplish the ennobling of the soul. So this is where our mind can reside, and the direction in which we want to move consciously in order to live our lives more intentionally in the coming week. Yes? Now let's look at those three cards below. The Wheel of Fortune, the Queen of Cups reversed, and then the Empress reversed. Yes, we start off with something upright, and then we fall into the reversals. But this Wheel of Fortune card here What is this card telling us? It's telling us that, oh, well, first, let's look at the card. I'm sorry, I'm getting too excited. What do we see? We see Fortuna, the goddess of fortune, at the wheel. And it's interesting, this goddess at the wheel is blindfolded, right? We also see, if you recall the Wheel of Fortune cards from Tarot de Marseille, or even the Waite Smith deck, we get the idea of that being on the top, yeah? We get the feeling of the being on, let's see, for you it would be on the left-hand side, which looks like that being is going up. And then maybe the creature on the right-hand side, I'm sorry, do we see a creature going down there? It could be a creature going down there. It really is, some of this art is really hard for me to see. It looks like there are several creatures. Yeah? Okay, on the right, there's a naked woman on the left. On the left-hand side, there's a naked woman at the bottom that looks like she might be on the way up. There's a somewhat clothed being holding a sun that looks like he or she is closer to the top. There's the being on the very top. Then going down on the right, it looks like there might be a crowned figure going down. I don't know, maybe a person. And then it looks like there's some kind of an animal to me, I'm not sure. And then there's another person holding a moon right next to the leg of the goddess standing there. And it looks like there's a being at the bottom, but I'm not really sure what that is right now. Like I said, this artwork is a little hard for me to see. But it is the Wheel of Fortune. And you'll notice it, instead of card 10, this is card 11 in the deck because of the reordering of the major arcana. But what does it mean? It means cycles of life. It still means the cycles of life in this deck. Yeah? There's a constant force of change in all of our lives. And if we don't go with that change, if we don't move with the flow of intention through our lives, then we are moving towards stagnation and death. And there is no true death in the universe. There's only change. Do you agree? So we want to remember that all of our experiences are opportunities for growth, whether we name them positive or we name them negative. They are all opportunities for growth. And that's what, below the surface, as we unconsciously feel the movement and changes and cycles of our lives, we want to, when we have those things that rise up like, oh no, this can't happen, we want to be able to accept that feeling and recognize that this thing that we just felt can't happen is an opportunity for us to grow. So instead of trying to control destiny or keep our noses pointed in the direction of our goals and our aims and make sure that we don't take any detours, what we really want to point our noses towards is joy, and point our noses towards love. Now, at the end of every video, I wish you love, joy, well-being, which we've already talked about, and pure awareness, right? We want to point our noses in the direction of our joy, of our love. Because that is the direction of openness, and that is the direction of moving with the power of intention. And instead of measuring highs and lows, we want to measure our adaptability. How well are we able to ride the waves of change in our lives? How well are we able to ride the currents of our intention through our evolution? So instead of this is a success, yay, this was a failure, boo, this was high, this was low. We want to see how well we're moving, riding the crests, riding the waves of experience through the eternal now, in the direction of our evolution, in the direction of our intentional lives. Yeah, so that's how we begin this bottom line. So this is what we want. This is what will be beneficial for us for living intentionally in the coming week and ennobling our souls. Right? And supporting the healing and the opening and the understanding that was pointed to in the 3 cards above. Here, though, we have the Queen of Cups reversed. And if you recall, we had the Knight of Cups reversed right above her in our conscious sphere. So in the conscious sphere, we have the Knight of Cups reversed, and here in the lower part, in the unconscious, in the what's going on below the surface, we have the Queen reversed. And still, she's a beautiful queen. She is seated there regally with her cup held high in her hand. She's looking off to the left, and she's got this beautiful bird on her knee. She's seated there. She's in front of a triangle inside of the circle of the frame within the frame. Yeah, Jupiter had the square. She's got a downward pointing triangle reminding us of water. Do you see in the upper, the upper left-hand corner, there is a heart in addition to the triangle pointing down in the upper left-hand corner? It's a beautiful card. The art is gorgeous. Beautiful woman sitting there. Love her hair. Love her crown. What is she telling us? She's telling us that we might be experiencing some blockage in the flow of emotion or compassion in our lives. I'm sorry, I want to keep her in my hand. Yeah, we might be experiencing some blockage, which is indicated, I think, in the 4 of Cups above and the Knight of Cups above. So she's really pointing to maybe the problem that is happening below the surface. And that blockage could be a result of not handling the Wheel of Fortune very well. Now being focused on the lows and the highs and the lows and the highs. Trying to control our destiny too much, which blocks our flow of energy, our flow of compassion, our ability to understand other. It could be resulting in a hardened heart within us, or maybe a loss of feeling of connection with other people, maybe a feeling of being drained of energy. Have you been experiencing any of those things? And it's okay. It's okay to acknowledge a hardened heart. That's okay. That doesn't mean you're a bad person, right? You might be thinking, how dare you? But there are times when my heart has hardened in the past, and maybe now, and I need to look at that a little bit more carefully. Where is my heart hardened, or with whom is my heart hardened? I can think of several people in the political sphere for whom my heart has been hardened in recent times. Yeah, even a couple of my friends who are who I feel do not understand my positions on things. My heart may have been slightly hardened towards them. Notice how I'm trying to soften things so I don't feel too self-judgmental or too hurt by my own words about myself. Yeah, slightly, a little bit hardened. Yeah, well, if it's hardened, it's hardened. If my heart has been hardened, it's been hardened, and now I can acknowledge it and I can do something about it, right? So we want to do a little bit of a heart inventory here. Or on the other hand, are we feeling isolated? It could be part of that, yeah? Or are we having trouble feeling our sensitivity or our emotional depths? Are we feeling disconnected from the depths of ourselves? That's also possible. Many questions to be asking ourselves, and it's okay. It's a good thing to have questions that we don't have immediate answers to. This is a time of, some people call it inventory, some people call it self-inquiry. All of those things are very good for right now. And we want to recognize and admit to ourselves that we need to care for ourselves, and we may need care from other people. Yeah? We might need some help here, folks. And it's okay. It's okay to ask for help. We might benefit from meditation, always benefiting from meditation, of course. We might benefit from creative expression. I've been trying to do some drawing exercises for myself to help the flow of creative energy from me, myself, and I. Me, myself, and I. We might want to do some grounding activities if you've been feeling a lack of purpose or a lack of direction or a lack of stability. All of these things can help. Yeah? And maybe reaching for the thing that seems the least comfortable. Maybe that's the thing that will give us the greatest benefit. Because if it's easy for us to think, oh yeah, I can draw. Oh yeah, I can, I can do grounding exercises, but ask for somebody else for some help, I'm not going to do that. That might be exactly the thing that we want to add to our quote unquote arsenal of self-care. Our toolbox is probably better. And the more that we help ourselves, the better we're going to be able to help other people. Right? If you've been on airplanes, you know you put the mask over your own face before you take care of other people. Because if you pass out from lack of oxygen, you can't help anybody. Right? So, self-care, self-inquiry, self-inventory, finding ways to crack open the blockages, to dissolve the blockages. And then the next card we had is this Empress card reversed. I'm sorry, not the Empress, this is Emperor. Oh, I'm sorry. I pulled the wrong card out from my pack. Okay, so no, this is the Empress. Yes, it is the Empress. So what is she telling us? She's telling us that we may be feeling barren. We might be feeling cold. Yeah? And that might be what's feeding the blockage, right? We may be engaging in self-indulgent or things that are blocking ourselves from experiencing things fully because maybe we've been feeling overwhelmed. We might be overworking, on the other hand, to be able to mask those feelings that we don't want to feel, right? We may be drinking to mask the feelings. We might be overeating to mask the feelings. We could be shopping to mask the feelings. We could be drowning ourselves in work to mask the feelings. And so we're asked to embrace the spirit of openness, generosity, and allowing others to flourish as they are without changing them. Remember, we're asked to open to being compassionate to others with honor, with humility, with a higher ideal, if you will, right? And yet we don't want to, what? We're not doing it in order to change them. We're doing it to open ourselves. Does that make sense? Yeah, if we are opening ourselves, what am I trying to say? If we're trying to be wiser and more honorable and more with humility, open ourselves to others, behaving selflessly, sometimes we can intentionally or unintentionally find ourselves doing that in order to get the result of changing that person. Do you understand? This card is reminding us we're doing it not to change the other person, but we're doing it to ennoble ourselves, to improve ourselves, to evolve, without requiring the other person to become something other than they are. They're on their own journey. Imagine this. Okay, so let's say, this is just pulling rabbits out of hats. Well, maybe that's the wrong metaphor. Still, imagine this. So, you have an alcoholic in your life, and I'm sorry if you do have an alcoholic in your life, and this is triggering, I'm very sorry, but let's go with this one. Yeah, we've got an alcoholic in our lives, and they are on a steady decline. Yes? And so we want to open ourselves to an honorable and wise way of selflessly interacting with that person with humility, knowing that I'm not perfect either. And if we're doing that because we think if we just do that, they will change, then we're doing it for the wrong reason. They still need to be on their journey, as their journey will be. We cannot, Colette Baron Reid says this, and I'm sure other people have said this as well, we cannot rob the other person of their bottom. And I don't mean their buttocks. I mean hitting the bottom of their well, which will wake them up to take another direction, to move in another direction. We can't rob them of their bottom. We can't change ourselves so that we can effect a change in the others. We change ourselves, for our own evolution. And in that process, we also understand others and maybe are able to influence others, but we don't do it expecting them to change. And maybe we can still seek inspiration from our environment. We can get some energy, some ideas, some wisdom from what we see around us, who we see around us as well. And remember those cycles that we had with the Wheel of Fortune? We want to embrace the cycles, especially cycles of rest and rejuvenation and action. And then rest, rejuvenation, and action, and rest and rejuvenation and action. And the rest of this spread is pointing to all of that, right? This spread is really pointing us in a very clear direction, I think. And I think I'm going to steal the title of this video from the oracle card that led this whole spread from the beginning. Yes? Ennobling our soul is the direction for us for leading our lives intentionally in the coming week. We want to open ourselves in humility, in kindness, with honor, with wisdom, to other people, not expecting them to be any different or to change the way that they are moving in the journey of their lives. And in order to do that, self-healing is called for. An understanding of the cycles of our lives is called for. A rekindling of our passion and our focus and our excitement for life is called for. And all of that is possible the more that we are able to open ourselves to whatever we name the non-physical, whether we name it the divine, we name it the eternal nature that we are, whether we name it the oneness, whether we name that our guardian angel, whatever name we place on the non-physical that we are in relationship eternally. We want to open to that as we evolve. Not expecting to get it all accomplished tomorrow, but as we evolve. And care for ourselves so that we can care for others. Does that make sense? Can you see how this spread flows from all of that? How this and all of that flows from this spread? I think it's a remarkable spread. I think it's remarkable information. And if you agree with me, let me know in the comments below. If you disagree with me, please let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think. And can you see how this spread flows naturally from the spread we read last week? And if you haven't seen that, maybe go back and watch that again. Because we were, after this week of doing some soul searching, some shadow work, it's time for us to now open up a little bit more. And include other people in this journey of ours. And ennoble our souls. Yes? Friends, thank you. Thank you for joining me on this journey through this spread. And thank you for being with me now, as always. And if you want a reading from me, the QR code for my online tarot shop will appear, as well as the address for that shop, DerekJohnThomas.com. And now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.